Okay, we've unlocked a new place. It's such a nice day today. I was like, why don't I come outside and film? Because, let me actually get my notes. Okay, I got my notes, so they're half notes, half whatever I was writing during the day. But I have not updated anyone on, well, I've updated you guys because I've told you guys about just what I've been reading, but I haven't given you a, all-encompassing, update on the books that I've read. And I realized, we're halfway through the year because I'm filming this in June. It will probably come out in July. I've also filmed a whole video, 2 hours plus, where I went through every book I read this year, and then I decided to scrap it because I was like, first of all, it's too long. It's too long. And I was just like, I give terrible synopsises or synopsi. I'm not sure. I think it's synopsises. But I was like, I should pick the best books I've read all year long, including December 2025, because last time I updated you and gave you guys a whole rundown, it was in, I think, November. So I read some really great books in December, which is crazy because I, first of all, read some really huge books, but also just the sheer amount of books I read in December was insane for it being Christmas time and Thanksgiving, and I was traveling a lot. I just wrote a ton of books. I don't even know why, but books that need to be shared about. So I have 10 books, really 11, but we're going to call it 10. And I think these are the best books I've read all year so far as of June 2026. And a few honorable mentions. But we're going to also, these are in no particular order. These are in the order at which I remember them. So this isn't best to worst or anything like that. This is just, I went through my story graph and this is what it said. So we're going to take what we got. So it's also probably going to go from when I last read it, or sorry, no. It's probably going to go from most recent read to least recent, because that's how my story graph was set up. So the first book on here is Atmosphere, which is about this woman who is, I think it's the 80s. She's living in the 80s. Whenever they started to allow women to become astronauts, she is training to become an astronaut. It's a love story. It's an emotional loop, but it's not too I saw people sobbing online. I wasn't sobbing, but I don't really cry often. But I was wondering how it was going to become a love story, and I realized how while reading it, obviously, and I was blown away. I thought it was super good. I think I rated it 5 stars. I loved it. It was really awesome. Yeah, so that's Atmosphere. The next book is actually a series, and I read both books this year, and this is why I said 11 books. It's really 11 books, but in reality, we're going to say, since it's a series, it's one. I actually have the first book because I was gifted it in my book swap. So it's what is the series called? The series is called Twisted Crown Series, but the first book is One Dark Window. It's by Rachel Gillig. I'm pretty sure that's how you say her name. Tremendous. This was great. This was surprisingly super great, because in the book swap, sometimes it's a hit or miss. Sometimes it's oh, this is really awesome. Sometimes it's this was okay. And sometimes it's I don't ever have to read this again. This was wow, I want to read more. I want to know more. I want to be in the world more. And it's a duology. There's only 2 books. I don't know what the next book is called or what it was called. I wrote down Twisted Crown Series. I didn't write down anything else. But the first book is One Dark Window. I cannot describe it well, so I won't. But this is the same woman that writes The Night and the Moth, and it gives the same type of like, she's very good at writing just an atmosphere, like a very eerie, or I even think it's like foggy. Like, I don't know how to describe it well, but she writes really well just to get you inside of the world. Like, I felt like I was experiencing the same environment as our main girl. It's a romantasy, and I was so happily like surprised that I liked it so much. I highly suggest you go and pick it up or go read the synopsis, because really, really great, a really great romantasy. And I am no, like, I'm no book connoisseur. Like, it doesn't take much for me to be like, wow, I love that. I think that she wrote a really well-developed story. I think the story made a lot of sense, and I think that it was very well put together throughout the series. Like, I wasn't questioning a lot at the end. So, yeah, that is One Dark Window, or the Twisted Crown series. Where should I put this? I'll put it right here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but okay. Next, I have Mistborn. Let me get my iPad because I want to read the synopsis for this one that Storygraph has. So, I think most people know about Brandon Sanderson, and I'm sure if you know about him, you know that he's synonymous with huge books. Huge, 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 huge books. And I really wanted to get into him, but I was so afraid to even step foot near a Brandon Sanderson's book. But I thought, why don't I listen to one first to see if I even care, right? About the world, if I'm ready to dive into like reading 1,200 page books, right? And I'm sad to say it, but also super happy. I'm going to start reading some 1,200 page books because I read Mistborn, the first book in the final Empire series, and it was great. It was amazing. I was beyond surprised, not at the caliber of fantasy that it was, like the fact that it was so good and well developed. Like, Brandon Sanderson is famous for a reason. There's a reason I think his whole discography like got picked up by Apple TV. That's insane. But I was just surprised that like I cared so much about the characters, and also that I cared enough to keep going, because even listening to it was a 24-hour and 40-minute listen. Like, that's a lot, right? That's a lot, especially in high fantasy, where the first book is usually a lot of world building, like them just talking about places and things to do. And I will say there's a good portion of that in here. There's a good portion of the book that is you just learning the magic system, learning where everyone is, learning who everyone is. Like, there is a huge portion of the book that's just that. But there's so much going on, so many, like, honestly, twists and turns in book one that I was like, okay, and we're going. Like, it kind of felt like a marathon, but not in a bad way. Like, I didn't finish it and was like, I need to rest. It was more like, okay, now I need to get to the next thing, right? So, yeah, let me read you the synopsis. So the description that Storygraph has is, in a world where ash falls from the sky and mist dominates the night, an evil cloaks the land and stifles all life. The future of the Empire rests on the shoulders of a troublemaker and his young apprentice. Together, can they fill the world with color once more? So, I don't think that was as enthralling as I hoped it would be for a description or a synopsis of the book. But I really do suggest, if you don't want to dive into a 1,000-page book, because I think the physical book for Mistborn, or the Final Empire, is like 1,000 pages, I highly, highly recommend listening to it. It was really great, and I got my audiobook at the library, and I can say, like, the library, I don't know if the version and the library version are the same, but I thought it was great. I thought the narration was really good. Okay, the first book isn't 1,000 pages. It's 647 pages. So that's still a lot, but it's less. That's less than I originally thought. So the next book on my list is Empire of AI. Now, last time, in November, my last book wrap-up, you guys remember I read Careless People. And I was banging my head against the wall reading Careless People because I hated the narrator. I hated the woman that wrote the book. I forget her name. Because I felt like she was biased. She was too attached to everything that was going on. Everything I hated about that book, this woman, her name is like Karen Hao, or Karen Ha. She wrote such an amazing book. Empire of AI is basically about AI, but specifically Sam Altman's AI, and also just how like companies like Anthropic have come about, how Copilot with Microsoft came about. But it also goes underneath, is OpenAI a good thing? Like, it's not even really questioning that fact. It's questioning, is what Sam Altman is building good? It's more, I would say, a like deep dive into Sam Altman as a person, and everything else is like just a side character. But Karen Howe is a reporter. She is a journalist. She's doing the real, like, she is asking the right questions. She's talking to the right people. And she is not giving her own opinions or telling us how she felt in the event. And I understand there's a level of, there's like a degree of separation, because the woman from Careless People actually worked for Facebook, while Karen Haw doesn't work for OpenAI at all. But I think that's how it should have been. I think that it needed to, like, Careless People needed to be more journalism instead of experiences or like storytelling. Karen Haw is all journalism. This is like, she is doing the deep dive. She is computer. Do you know that meme, like, computer?
But thank you, computer.
I recommend everybody read it. And I do think it was one of the best books I read this whole year so far. But I will say, like, it's also pretty long. It's not a short book. But I think it's interesting enough. Like, the stuff that was just going on at OpenAI and, like, with Sam Altman is so interesting that I think definitely it's a must read if you're just even a little bit curious about AI. That is Empire of AI by Karen Howe. The next book, I actually want to look up the author. I know I can never pronounce her name, and I will have it down somewhere or above somewhere in the video, because I think it's an informational book while being a fantasy book, which is such an interesting combination. Oh yeah, I can't say her first name or their first name. I don't know if this is a man or a woman, but the last name is Clark, and this is Ringshot. So Ringshot, I actually did like a little challenge for myself where during Black History Month, I was like, I should read more Black written books, like or books about Black people, right? Fantasy, I didn't care what genre. I was just like, I should just do that. Why not? I have free will, right? And I picked up the audiobook for Ringshot. It's only 5 hours and 36 minutes, so I'm sure the real book is probably like 100 pages or 2, right? Like, it's a short book. But it's such an interesting concept. So basically, these people, I don't know they're living in 1915, and the African Americans are fighting demons, but the demons are the Ku Klux Klan, which, crazy, but also makes so much sense. And they're like demon hunters, the African American people, and they're chasing down these Ku Klux Klan members, and the KKK is trying to indoctrinate more people. And since this is a fantasy book, they're indoctrinating these people or turning them into demons through this movie that came out, The Birth of a Nation. It came out in 1915, and this is a real movie. A very, very racist movie. But through that movie, it's indoctrinating and creating these demons, and they need to stop what's happening in order to save the world, but also just keep a little semblance of the peace that they already have, right? Because it's like, even today, we are living in a racist society, but it was so like entertaining, but also like it was woven with a lot of African American culture that, like, my parents didn't grow up here, so I don't know a lot of African American culture, and so it was really interesting to read about. Highly recommend. That's Ring Shot, and I'll put the author's name, full name, so that you can get it. But I listened to this at the library as well, and there wasn't even a wait list, so definitely go check that one out. The next book I listened to, I was in a tangent. I was in a huge audiobook spree in like April. I think I read at least, or listened to at least like 10 audiobooks in April. I don't know what was going on. I was just going audiobook, audiobook, audiobook. This is great. I love it. Continue. So I also listened to Hazelthorn, and I think the author's name is C.G. Drew. Let me check. Yes, it's called Hazelthorn by C.G. Drews. So this was like horror-y. It wasn't horror-y. It was a horror fantasy books. I shouldn't say it was like ish. It wasn't. The genre is horror. It was so interesting. It was so eerie. Like, if the same way I felt that Rachel Gillig was able to like put us in to the world and build the environment that made you feel like you're almost going through a fog or a shadow. Same thing with this author. I felt like I was in a garden because it revolves around a garden. It's like, I'm not going to explain it because I tried and it was so convoluted. So go read the synopsis. But very much, if you are okay with a little bit of like body horror, I think there's a little bit. I could also be wrong. Read the trigger warnings. And just like feeling a little shiver, you know, when you go somewhere and it's like a little bit too creepy and you're like, ugh. That's how I kind of felt the whole time, but also in a good way. I was like, this is alright, this is okay. I could keep going. Like, I wasn't too scared to like turn off my lights. I was just like, this is a little creepy. Or that's a little disconcerting there. But yeah, the descriptions were just super, super good and just eerie. It felt a little eerie. That was Hazelthorn by C.G. Drew. Definitely recommend going and looking that up, but also looking up some trigger warnings because I don't remember what was going on enough to tell you whether or not there were trigger warnings in general. So definitely go check that out. The next book I read, I actually have it, is The Will of the Many. In my November vlog, I definitely talked about this, and I definitely said how I was either reading it or trying to read it during like the winter break, when I went home, but I was still working. And crazy enough, I read the whole book during like winter time. I think I finished in January, and it was a big mama of a book, right? Like, this thing's huge. But I'm sad to say it again, like, it was super good. It was super good. You're basically, you know how, like, there's that meme that all men are just thinking about the Roman Empire? It's like, what's your Roman Empire? This is the definition of all men are thinking about the Roman Empire. This is set in a fantasy version of the Roman Empire, and it follows a boy named Vis, and he gets taken to basically an academy where he is sent there to spy. And obviously he's going to uncover so much more than he bargained for, and it was just a journey. It's a journey that's not done. I think it's like a 5-book series, y'all. It's not even, I don't even think it's anywhere near being done, but it was super, super good. I will say, though, it took me like 150 or maybe 200 pages to really be like, okay, I'm locked in. I'm ready to like continue and understand what's going on, or like I understand enough to keep going. That definitely took a minute. But once you get past that, you're moving. There's not a dead moment, and so much is going on. Like, oh, The Will of the Many. Definitely recommend. It's by, I think his name is James Islington. I don't know, but I'll put it on the screen so that everybody could see. But yes, The Will of the Many. It is a big book, so go in well prepared. Give yourself a lot of time. The next book I have is Arcana Academy. This was another book that I was like, I just saw it at the library and I was like, I should listen to this. And I was so surprised. Not because I didn't think it would be good, I thought it would be okay, but just because I didn't go in knowing anything and I didn't have any expectations, which was probably the right way to do it. This is by Elise Kova. I think that's how you say it. I have now come to learn that she has written many books. Tons and tons and tons of books. She is very popular. I did not know that. I literally picked up this book based off the cover. I did not know she is down with the fantasy. This is a romantasy. It was kind of a whirlwind, and I didn't think it was going to go the way it was going to go. But again, I am no book genius. Sometimes sometimes you just want those mind off books. So I don't know if my mind was off or my mind was on during this, but I was very surprised, I'm going to be honest, during a lot of the book further to the end. I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming, or I thought other decisions were going to be made, and they weren't. But yeah, it's basically following this girl, and actually, pause. I'll read you the synopsis because I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to tell you guys something that's not true. The synopsis is kind of long, actually. Let's read the top part and see what happens. A woman who wields magic tarot cards lands herself in a false engagement with the headmaster of a mysterious academy. In the first installment of the enthralling fantasy romance series from the best-selling author of A Deal with the Elf King. Tells you I didn't read this synopsis because I didn't know any of that about the author before this all started. Hopefully you don't hear the wind. But the wind is actually what's keeping me cool, so I'm kind of okay with it. But hopefully the shaking isn't too much or anything like that. But that is what Arcana Academy is about. Highly recommend. Very, very good. I listened to it. I think the narration was pretty good. But I wouldn't even mind rereading it before the second book comes out. I don't know how many books are in this series. Oh, it's only 2, it looks like. And it looks like it's going to come out this year. The next book is called Prince of Swords. So you will catch me reading that because I need to know now how it's going to end. Okay, we're almost done. The next book, I'm actually going to skip. Well, since this isn't in any actual order, I'm just going to pick up the next book. The next book is The Jasad Crown. I think I talked a lot, or probably talked at length, about The Jasad Heir, which I had read, I don't know, sometime in the fall or winter of last year. And I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I love Aaron. I love Sylvia. I loved it. This is the second book in the series. As you can see, it's another big mama. And I read this during winter break as well. So good. So good. I obviously can't tell you much about it because it's the second book, but we definitely follow different POVs. Well, we follow more POVs because I think, if I remember correctly, the first book is I think it's just Sylvia's POV. If it's not just Sylvia, it's only Sylvia and Aaron. This follows, like, everybody. And I loved it. I do wish, though, that the author had written, I don't know, anything else, like any more books about this, because I love to stay in a realm, like, or in a story, because there's not a lot of fan fiction about this, which is sad and surprising also, because I feel like lots of people have actually read it. But I wish she just had some novellas or like something. Like, I would love it. I would eat it up. But she doesn't. And she said, I watched like a thing online that said that, where she said that she wasn't planning on like writing anything else. And I was like, really, girl? Like, this is good. You don't want to put nothing else out there about these two people? She was like, in the interview, I was like, nope. And I was like, okay, just tear my heart out, why don't you? But the adventure continues in this book. Obviously, it does for a ton of pages, but every page is needed. It's needed because there's just a ton going on, and it's so good. Romantasy with a really interesting, like, Egyptian Egyptian-based magic system. I'm pretty sure it's Egyptian. But super great. Super great. The last book on my list, I will say, is probably the fan favorite, if that makes sense. Let me actually move these around a little bit. Okay. The next book is Alchemized by SenLinYu. I'm sure you've heard tons about it. I'm sure, because I heard tons about it, and that's why it was even on my radar. Let me just start by saying, amazing. I was terrified to read it because I'm sure, just like you heard that it was over 1,000 pages, which it is, and that it was really dark, which it is. Really dark. But also just amazing. And for this being SenLinYu's first, like, published material, insane. Like, when they talk about the fan fiction, like, writers being novelists, yes. I'm like, we gotta find more people from there. Because this bad boy, I was on a ride. I read this, or I listened to this, because I was terrified, so I was like, I don't want to read the book, because I can't commit to over 1,000 pages, and I think this is like 1,200 pages. Yeah. Or no, it's 1,000, which isn't better. It's like 1,010 pages is like my copy. 1,024. 1,024 pages is my copy, but I was like, I can't commit to that. I'm scared. I don't know if I can make it through that, and I just devoured the audiobook. I read it literally like over Christmas. Like, maybe I got it on Christmas Eve, and I was done. I barely slept. I was reading that. I was listening to that book. I was like, I just need to know what's happening, and I need to know what's going on, and I want to know how this is going to end. And I felt like I was going on an emotional roller coaster. I can't even describe it. I was experiencing a lot of things. And I was just not expecting it. I was not expecting it at all. While I went into this blind, I do not recommend other people to go into this blind, especially if you get triggered from different things. Before you read this book, go look up those trigger warnings. When I say this thing was dark, SenLinYu did not leave a dark post unturned. Like, if it could happen, it probably happened. Not like that. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Or not, I'm exaggerating. But I definitely would read the trigger warnings before you even pick up this book, get anywhere near this book. Because there were some things that needed to... There's some things that need to be known before you get into this endeavor. But I highly, highly recommend, if you do read the trigger warnings and you're like, yeah, I can get through that, Alchemized. This isn't like you had to get through the first, 5% to fully, understand or, get through the first 150 pages. No. Page 1, you're in it. You're in it. You're just there surviving with them. And it was amazing. I don't know how to say it any differently. I highly, highly recommend it. It was so good, I bought the physical version. Look at this. Isn't this beautiful? The sprayed edges, so pretty. But highly recommend. Now, that wraps the, formal top 10, top 11. But you know what I mean. I now have some honorable mentions. Some books that I read that I thought were, super good, but maybe not good enough for this video or, good enough to, top any of these other books, pretty much. And let me pull it up. Oh, one that I literally just finished a few hours ago, The Raven Scholar. Another huge book. I didn't really think I was going to be talking about it, so I didn't bring it out here, but I have it in my room, but not out here. But, oh my gosh. I, again, didn't really know anything about this. I had just seen it online. And then when it opened up at my library, I was like, oh, okay, I'll read it. And I will say, though, again, another, 150 pages before I was, truly invested. But the twist, didn't see it coming. Didn't see it coming at all. Honestly, any of the twist. It was a whirlwind, especially once you got to about 50%. I was there and I was like, oh, things are happening. I didn't expect at all. And it was really entertaining. I think it's a duology. I think there's one more book coming out, but the first book is already out. It's called The Raven Scholar, and the series is called the Eternal Path Trilogy. Oh, so it's 3 books, sorry. 3 books. But I highly recommend it. It was really, really good. And it was super enthralling once you got past, the world building, where am I, who are you? The next thing that is an honorable mention is going to be Starside, which I listened to this. I had seen a bunch of YouTubers getting arcs of this book, and I was just curious, and it was already out, so I got it on audio. I think Alex Aster, they've written other stuff. I'm sorry, I was not aware of your game, because it was super good. It was super good. Again, another twist I didn't see coming at all. This one is a romantasy. Sorry, 1 minute back to The Raven Scholar. The Raven Scholar, not a romantasy, I wouldn't say. It's high fantasy. Jump back. The Starside, pure romantasy. Angst, yearn, it's all there. And I love that. I'm always here for that. So that's Starside. I highly suggest go read the synopsis on that if you want. I think it's a duology, but again, what do I know? I'm always getting myself into situations where there's 5 books in the series and everybody knows and I just don't know. So definitely figure that out for yourself before you jump in. My last honorable mention. Okay. My last honorable mention is a book I listened to in January. Yes, January. I finished it in January. It's called Warrior Princess Assassin. Now, if you're anything like me, you hear Warrior Princess Assassin and you think, oh, it's a book about a warrior who's a princess and an assassin. No. Nope, nope, nope. That is warrior, comma, princess, comma, assassin, comma, or and. These are 3 different people. I was unaware of that going in, and that did indeed catch me very off guard because I did not realize we were going to follow multiple people, or at least multiple people who were all those things. This is heavy on the romantasy, heavy on the smut, especially near the end. But it was very good. It's one of those books that's taking you on a journey. Like, the 3 of them are going on a journey. And usually journeys kind of bore me sometimes. Like, if there's not things going on, it's kind of boring. I was not bored. I was not bored. I was very much enthralled. My camera died. So, just to close out what I was saying, please go read the synopsis for Warrior Princess Assassin. I highly recommend. It was very, very good. And yeah, hopefully I'll get better at doing these videos. Also, just like making these more like cinematically pleasing. I know this is like definitely an in-between between like a book channel and like a lifestyle channel because I do a little bit of everything, but I think I named the YouTube channel on purpose, or like purpose good. I named it good because this is what existing with Sophie is like. Sometimes I'm doing so much stuff and it's fun and it's cool and I take clips here and there. And then sometimes I'm at home for weeks or months on end and all I do is read books. And so that is the lifestyle, that is the existing with Sophie. So I hope you guys enjoy listening to me ramble on about books and telling you all the craziness that's going on in my head, because I want to share what I'm listening to, reading, immersive reading, like what's going on. I also have one other surprise, which I'll put in probably at the end of this, the like unboxing of it, but I got a Kobo Libra color, which thank you to my aunt. She very nicely gave this or bought this for me. Since I just finished the Raven Scholar, I now am on to the deal. I don't know if I'll finish this before I finish something else, but I do have the deal on the Kobo because it came with Kobo Plus. I've been using it for a week now. I can say I love it very much. I think that the color is very good. I think that I like it's powered off right now, but I like that it makes, like, you can you can make the font small as you want, because I kind of like it to be smaller because I like the total pages to be less, right? It makes me feel better. I think that the quality is very good, and I haven't listened to any audiobooks on it yet, but overall I think it's very nice. I like it a lot. I will say, though, I think that the battery, maybe I'm just reading a ton, like, because I was at the last, like, 50% of the Raven Scholar when I got the Kobo, so I linked my Libby or my OneDrive, I think that's what it's called, OneDrive, to my Kobo, and I read like the last bit on the Kobo. I don't know if that made me read faster because I was motivated because the Kobo's new or what, but I devoured the last 50% of the Raven Scholar. So that's either props to the Raven Scholar or props to the Kobo. I don't know, props to both, or just me in my mind. Might be that. But I was doing it. I love the buttons on the Kobo. But back to the reason I even brought this up. The one downside I will say is that I think that the battery is a little, what's it called? It's not as long as people said it was. But again, that might just be because I had it on too long. that could be it. Maybe I was just reading, but I will say, if you're one of those people who can read like hours on end, like I don't even think I'm that person. Like if you can read for longer than 4 hours just straight, I do think the Kobo will start to die. But I will say it's a USB-C charger, so it's very like it's readily available, and it charges pretty fast. Like it's not taking all day to charge, and you can read while you charge. It's not like one or the other. You can do both. But I really like it. I think that I love that I can connect it to my Libby account. That's really, really great because that's how I was reading The Raven Scholar. That's how I read majority of my books. And I think that I like that it's in a different place, like a non-cellular or screen, if that makes sense, even though it's a screen, but it's not a place where like I could just hop on TikTok. You know what I mean? When I go on my morning walks now, I actually take my Kobo, and the urge to scroll is a lot less, which I appreciate. Just because I personally would like to scroll less, right? Like, I don't want to be like just on my phone all the time if I can help it. And I think the Kobo is like a good way to have a device, but not a social media like attached device. This is solely to read, and you can take notes, you can get the stylus. I don't have any of that because I just got this a week ago, but I like it, and I think it's okay without the case, but probably my clumsy self, I'll get a case. I need a case. Otherwise, I will drop it and this thing will break, and I'll cry my eyes out. But at the moment, I don't have one. But yeah, highly recommend the Cobra Libra color so far. Haven't had any problems with it besides, I would say, like the battery, but at the same time, it's like the battery is, it's not going to kill me. It'll be fine. But yeah. Okay. Box here. I'm so excited. I have been eagerly awaiting this package. My Cobra Libra color. Kobo Libra color. I can't talk. Yay! Okay. Let us unbox it. Very pretty. I like the flowers. Cute extensions. I have not got any accessories for this yet. I don't even have a case, so right now we're raw dogging life. Oh. Oh. Okay, a manual. Very thin. It's very nice. And the buttons. Yes. And then the on buttons back here. Oh, and there's a thingy. Ooh. Cool. On. There's a light over here. What does that mean on? I don't know. It's doing something. Is there like a quick start guide? Oh. Oh. I've never had like a Kindle or anything like that, so this is a whole new experience and I love I'm like eating it up. I'm like, yes. Every new experience. I feel like the graphics are pretty good. I read some like reviews where people were saying that like they didn't like the graphics on it, but I'm like, they look pretty good to me. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully you'll see me next time doing I don't know what.